I believe my mother's love towards me is unconditional. Growing up, I knew my family did not have a lot of money, but it wasn't made so obvious until the first day of middle school. Most of the kids at school were wearing designer jeans and shirts. I remember that the jeans with flair were a big thing. I asked one of my friends how much a pair of those jeans would cost me, and her response was $70 and up. My jaw dropped. How in the world was I going to convince my mom to buy me those jeans? One day I mustered up the strength and asked my mom for the money. Of course she said no. "What, are you crazy?" she asked. I was so mad at her and told her I hated her and hated my life, that I wished I'd been born into a family that had more money. I blamed her for my unhappiness and was convinced I was adopted. I resented her for something she couldn't control. I got a job a few years later when I was old enough to work. I soon realized how hard it was to earn money and how easy it was to spend it. Every day on my way to work, I would see a man at a stoplight begging for money. He had old, worn-out clothes and looked like he hadn't showered in a long time. One day I rolled down the window of my car and handed the man some money. He grabbed the money from my hand quickly as if he was afraid I would change my mind. "Thank you," he said. Then he asked, "You feel sorry for me, don't you?" As I drove back home from work, I realized I didn't feel sorry he didn't have any money, but that he was alone in this world. He didn't have a family or friends to help him. He didn't have anyone to come home to like I did. He didn't have anyone who cared if he had eaten or not, or someone who worried when he wasn't home by 10 o'clock. Furthermore, growing up, I was a short-tempered teenager. Things always had to be my way or no way. I refused to help around the house, and I always felt that I had better things to do, like hang out with my friends. I always wanted to be left alone, and everything my mother said irritated me. I guess I was your typical teenager. Because my mom married and had kids at a young age, she was very strict when it came to letting me go out with friends. She didn't want the same thing that happened to her happen to me. I hated it, so I rebelled against it. When I went out with my friends, I would drink alcohol and go to places my mother would not have approved of. She's a very smart person, so when she would find things out, she would tell me how disappointed she was in me. But I didn't really care. One day I got into a car accident. I was so scared. For the first time, I was alone like I always wanted. But that day, all I wanted was my mother to hug me and tell me everything was going to be all right. And she did exactly that. That moment, I realized how much I had taken her for granted. My mom is my best friend and the person that no matter what I do or say, never judges me. I believe that my mom did the best she could to raise my sisters and I. As a child, I didn't understand or liked her rules, but now I realize she did it for my own good. She might not have been able to give me everything I wanted, yet all her love wasn't measured by money or things, but by her words and actions. I'm a better person because of her, and one day I hope to be half the mom she is to me.